Many see this world as being governed by capitalism, and some even describe it using words like trade, advanced information technology, and foreign exchange. But what they don't see is that this world is also racist, sexist, and violent. These are just some of the words that should come to mind when you think of a capitalist patriarchal society, because that is what this is. I see capitalism as being gendered, and it aids in the exploitation of women. Our aim here is to help people understand that under capitalism, domestic labor has been cast in the shadows. The capitalist system has made domestic labor almost invisible, and as such has created a bias in the discussion of the capitalist globalization process. This takes away from what should be in this day and age an understanding that women who are domestic laborers face many distinctive negative and often dire consequences under this capitalist system. Women are subordinate and inferior when they are subject to positions of less power and lower pay than men, and they are often responsible for the unpaid reproductive labor. In the Caribbean, domestic labor and its invisibility can be seen from our history of colonialism, faced by the British and then by the modern version of capitalist established dominance of the United States. These practices have led to a gendered identification in the workforce, where men are associated with being the dominant force with production in the financial economy, and women are associated with reproduction and the domestic sector of the economy. We can then see how domestic labor has been exploited throughout the global economy. Domestic laborers are one of the most vulnerable groups in our society today and need to be protected. Under this globalized system of capitalism, domestic labor has been devalorized, and there's also a lack of protectionist policies even in developed countries for them. An awareness of this issue and an analysis of it is essential for not only the Caribbean but the rest of the world, because domestic work and by extension domestic workers face challenges that are highly underestimated. Capitalism from its inception has always belittled domestic work, and this type of work is often linked to women, being considered a duty rather than real work. This idea continues to the present day, where Asian workers don't even have a fixed hourly rate, are taken advantage of, and are often paid half the amount of those employed outside the home. In India, it's been reported that domestic laborers are paid a third of those outside the home, and in the Caribbean it's the same. In Trinidad, the domestic workers are not covered under the Industrial Act because they aren't seen as workers, so instead, these workers are governed by colonial laws used to regulate the employee-employer relationship. It's also not mandatory for workers to be covered by the National Insurance Board, and as such, they aren't even assured a retirement plan or maternity leave. The reason these issues are relevant to women today is because there's a need for the awareness of domestic workers' rights as they aren't being met. The International Labour Organization illustrated that domestic workers are often seen as servants or slaves, and because of the lack of legal protection they have, they're faced with significant exploitation and abuse. The C-189 Convention is one that aids in providing protection for domestic workers, and though being implemented in many places, it still needs to be ratified in many others. Domestic workers also make it possible for other women to partake in the labor force, and due to this, there's a need for us to recognize domestic work as work. There's an overall need to change the view of women in general within the labor market in order to promote gender equality and economic justice within the globalized economy. Similarly, it's this view that many hold of women workers in general, and domestic workers in particular, that adds to how gendered the global economy is. Over the years, women's movements have aimed to achieve gender equality, where women receive the same benefits as men. Caribbean labor movements, such as the Caribbean Domestic Workers Network, can benefit from global women's movements by continuing to make strides in advocating for the rights of domestic workers throughout the Caribbean, and also by recognizing women's work as a job, as most domestic workers are women. In Trinidad and Tobago alone, there are over 20,000 domestic workers, and their work is not formally recognized, and because of this, they receive unfair working conditions with little to no salary and sick leave. However, through the opportunity to network with international domestic work organizations, the National Union for Domestic Employees and the Caribbean Domestic Workers Network have become stronger in their advocacy and fight on behalf of domestic workers.